Hey, this is Mike Shank, and this is the At Speed podcast presented by Rocky Fork Company.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with another episode of At Speed podcast featuring Mike Shank and yours truly, Tim May. And Mike, it's been a little bit of a lull since we've been here, but that's not like you guys have been sitting still, correct?
We've had a lot to do. We've been working hard between the 500, then St. Louis, and then Road Atlanta on the IMSA side. We've had a lot of things going on, Tim.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we jump into that Road Atlanta thing, I do want to review that because I think we've given short shrift occasionally to the sports car side of things with you guys. But bottom line is, how excited are you to finally see this doubleheader at MidOhio on the schedule, not only on the schedule, but coming up this weekend?
Well, it was very last minute. I'm just glad we're racing. I think there was a high probability of us not racing, actually.
Yeah.
The governor, fortunately, actually, when I saw the crew get their people in last weekend, I thought, okay, we got this potentially, and it was true. We did. So just grateful that we get to race. 6,000 people at MidOhio this weekend. Not ideal by any means, Tim, but it'll give a chance for everybody to see how great IndyCar racing is this year, how competitive it is, how close it is. You will see the cars right on top of each other the whole time. And, we continue this momentum of IndyCar gaining in people watching it, I think.
Yeah. Mike, who do you think should be the favorite going into this weekend? I'm lobbing that one up at the net to you, considering who won it last year. And it was his sixth win there, and he's from New Zealand. Should Scott Dixon always be considered the guy to beat at MidOhio, the king of MidOhio?
He's a threat everywhere, Tim. Everywhere we go.
I knew you were going to say that, yeah.
A special guy, but I think we deserve to win. I think we've proven we have the speed. We just haven't had the right circumstances yet. Jack is capable of winning, and I think the team is capable. We've proved it in the pit lane. We just got to get the right things to go our way, and have a shot at it. That's the thing, Tim. There's 23 cars, 24 cars, and virtually all of them could win with the right strategy. There's no bad drivers anymore, and that's what makes IndyCar racing great today.
You guys specifically, like you talked about, I mean, you've got two shots at a place where you think you guys are going to be extremely competitive, possibly at the point when this thing is done. What does that do for you from just a juice standpoint of knowing you've got two shots at a victory at MidOhio this weekend?
It's great because if we do have something go wrong on the first day, we have a redemption day the next day, and everybody will be in the same boat. What we're trying to do, we want to get ourselves up into the top 10 in points before this is all done. We have 3 weekends left. We have MidOhio this weekend. We have the Harvest Grand Prix in Indianapolis at the beginning of October, and then we have St. Pete. That's all we have. Yeah. So we've got 5 more races. An opportunity to put us in the top 8 in points would be a great first-year effort for us, and we deserve it. I really believe we deserve it. So, but there's tons of competition. Everyone has a shot at this. But we're preparing as hard as we can this week with lots of meetings about strategy and setup and all that kind of thing. So let's see what happens here.
Hey, Mike, is it amazing as we were sitting there around on this podcast talking back in May, is it amazing that y'all are sitting here with many races under your belt and 5 races left in the season, considering what the doubts were, way back then?
It feels really, really weird and odd, Tim. And we're not where we want to be from a points perspective, but we've ticked a lot of boxes in other areas. It's the whole year is so disconnected and not great in so many ways. But having said that, we needed to get this year in the books to get the experience on our side,
Yeah.
Everybody on our stand has not got a lot of experience running a whole program, but we're learning as we go. And I've got some really big head thinkers on our timing stand that help make decisions and strategy calls and setup calls and performance analysis, which is really important. There's so many little detail. And if you think about St. Louis as proof for this, Tim, that particular track is the worst case scenario. And this is what I mean. Every 0.3 of a second, there's a car on the track. Every 0.3. Okay, that means around that oval. Okay, if you make any mistake at all, how the inner pit lane, exit pit lane, the pit stop itself, any little bobble from the driver, any little bobble, you're going back in the line. There's nothing you can do about it. And understanding that, and really what that means is taking our game to a whole nother level. I mean, with the precision at which we got to make strategy calls and decisions is just on this whole nother plane of existence. And we're learning as we go. And hopefully we've learned enough to keep Jack up where he deserves to be.
Tell me where because I think it was the first St. Louis race. You guys, I think, had figured it out. I mean, you guys had a really good strategy going. You kind of gone off beam a little bit. I think it was the first of the two. And then, of course, a caution throws everything out the window. But
we had just a normal, we pitted with the Penske's and everything was fine. There was nothing abnormal about what we did. It just, they said it rained and it didn't rain.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
And they had proof, trust me, after I went to the trailer afterwards, the IndyCar trailer, and complained plenty. But they showed me some pictures of in-car cameras that were getting water on them and so on and so forth. And, it's just tough. It's just, we've had that happen twice this year now.
Yeah.
And the next day we just made some calls that weren't, we just didn't quite have the performance we had the day before and just didn't get the results. So anyways, I mean, we're learning from all this, and we'll be ready for MidOhio this weekend.
I didn't get to ask you though after that, but did Jack report that there was any kind of precipitation as he's driving around the track?
Zero, none.
Yeah,
zero.
Yeah.
And my spotter up in the stands, none. But there were some droplets around the track.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do?
Right.
What am I going to do? So.
Yeah. Well, we all remember that race way back when in New Hampshire when it was raining on part of the track, but they didn't throw the caution. There was a crash, and we all remember the great willpower salute to the stewards that day. As he walked off. So
I'm positive that's exactly what they were thinking. Positive.
Oh yeah. Well, err on the side. What's that called? Err on the side of safety. That's why y'all have those halos now, and the arrow screens, which are extremely great. But let's move real quickly. There was joy to be had in your racing headquarters this week because y'all won over the weekend in Atlanta. Just what did that do for you guys from a sports car standpoint, from the Acura NSX side?
It was a great day. Some interesting statistics. That was a 6-hour race. They allowed limited fans in the road Atlanta, which was good. They probably had 6,000 people there or so, which is great to have fans back there. That race was completely here's why I'm so proud of that race for this group. It was completely calculated, totally under control by the 86 car the entire time, no panicking. We could see by the second or third pit stop that for whatever reason, we were just dominating in the pit lane that day.
Yeah.
And so eventually, by the time we got Mario in for the last two stints, we won the pit lane out. And think about this. We passed not one car the entire day. We passed them all in the pit lane.
Wow.
Every one of them. So we started fourth, ran second most of the race, and our final pass for the lead was in the pits. And really proud of our guys for that. I think that, obviously the drivers and the engineers, they got to get the car right, and then the drivers got to deliver. But, that just goes to prove what we call the in and out laps and the stop itself are so important in this racing world we live in. And they just kicked ass. And by the way, we have a 12-point lead, which is a lot in the way our point system works. And we'll just continue to try to grow that as we can. Last year, we won the championship by 21 points. So we certainly are aiming to get past that this year.
Yeah, who was in the car at the end of the race, Mike? I'm trying to remember.
Mario Fonbacher.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's our gold, we call gold level driver, and he knows the car blindfolded and he knows the tracks.
Yeah. And but you just touched on something. By the way, maybe IndyCar to think of a new award to give out every year for pit stop deltas. Maybe the In and Out Burger Award. You know what I mean? The In and Out.
Yeah.
But it would work great. But the point is, you guys were always pretty good. You guys have always been a pretty good pit crew situation, even back in the good old days of just sports car racing. But has that spirit permeated the team now? I mean, do you think? I mean, is that why you feel for want of another term, top level.
Well, I happen to have a group of guys on both sides, sports car and IndyCar. They're just really competitive and they want to do well. And when they do well, they get that reward of knowing that they did well. And that's a lot for them. And that's how I'm kind of built too. I like to compete. Even, getting older now, I still love to compete. And I happen to have a group of guys right now that care, really care.
Yeah.
And it's especially rewarding when they see themselves compared to other people. For the last 2 races, I guess we pitted right next to Penske, right? Indy 500, and we beat them out. We beat them. Now, they beat us a couple times, but there were times we beat them. And by the way, they have a practice pit stop car. We have none of that. We practice at the track, right? We will have a practice pit stop car in our near future, but for now we don't. So they're just going off of instincts and experience on pit stops. You think about it, Tim, we were doing stops and we're flowing 18 gallons of fuel and 4 tires in 6.3 seconds. And it's different than F1, we don't allow all those people over the wall,
Yeah.
So that's getting with the program pretty well.
Yeah. I was going to say, you talk about caring and stuff, but that's an all-star team type. That's an all-star team type of timing and stuff. Is professional pride at the heart of it? How would you describe it? I mean, you just kind of just did, but I mean, just do y'all spend a little extra time on pit stop practice during the weekend, or how does that work?
In IndyCar, they only allow you to practice at certain times.
Yeah.
So we take all that we can. So we'll do 3 or 4 reps in real time with the car coming in and out of the box, and that's about it. And IMSA, we can do it a little bit more, but not a whole lot more. And so I think it's personal pride. I mean, I ask a lot of these guys, and they're here for very specific reasons. This time of year, every year is kind of my sales season, right? Like this is when I'm trying to sell different deals to either manufacturers or to sponsors, potential sponsors or partners, and at the end of the day, we live and die by results, just like Coach Day does. I do the same exact thing, right? And we need it to continue the program. He needs it for recruiting. I need it for recruiting sponsors. And it's the same exact thing as a stick and ball sport.
Wow. Well, you know what? Speaking of that, there's a young man who came up who followed you at Gahanna Lincoln High School, and I think he's an up and coming talent in open wheel racing, Braden Eves, and we all know he got his first win at MidOhio earlier this year when they kind of raced in behind closed doors in the the Indy Pro 2000 series. Obviously, he won the championship last year in that USF 2000. I think it's the same series for the most part. But the point is, he had a tremendous crash this past weekend in Indianapolis. They were running. I think they ran a triple header over there for those guys behind closed doors, and suffered several really serious injuries. But he's back on the road to recovery. And Mike, we'll be back in a moment. I want to let you talk about him a little bit. But here's an interview I had with him just earlier this week as he tries to get things back in order. And obviously, you can tell his spirits are still high. And as promised, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with I call it kind of an exclusive interview with Braden Eves. Braden, welcome to the At Speed podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, man, this was going to be a big weekend for you. I just know from an anticipation standpoint, you won the last time you drove a Indy Pro 2000 car at MidOhio, which was back in late July. You won the race going away, and you felt so good. You said you could even get me into the paddock despite the COVID-19 restrictions at the time. You were feeling pretty good, right? And you were really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, so IMS is historically one of my best tracks, so I was super excited to go there. We had an official test last October, the Chris Griffiths Memorial Test, and I was quickest in half of the session, so I was feeling really good going into the weekend, and it started out pretty well. We weren't quite where we thought we were going to be, and then of course, we didn't finish any of the races. In race 1, I had that pretty big incident before the last section on the course. So, I was really looking forward to the weekend. Unfortunate the way it is, and I'm going to have to probably sit out for a little bit to heal up, but it is what it is, and I'm just kind of taking things as they go.
Yeah, you kind of jumped ahead to my next part. Was that the reason you're not racing at Mid-Ohio this week is because of what happened at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course there near the end of a race. And uh, just like I said, though, you had won at Mid-Ohio if I'm not mistaken the last time you were there, right? Mid-Ohio.
Yep. So we had a triple header there, the second weekend of the Road to Indy, Indy Pro 2000 series. And it was good to win at home. Last year I kind of struggled there, so it was really good. We were quickest in pretty much every single session, and
Hmm.
got taken out in race 2, and then had to start a little bit further back in race 3. But we were looking like we could have a clean sweep that weekend. So I was also looking forward to this weekend had I been able to race. But it is what it is, like I said.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think anybody watching right now, and if you're listening, I will describe it. He has a massive neck brace on, and it looked like he had just went 2 rounds with Mike Tyson with that right eye with the black eye. But I think you suffered basically a fracture, right, in your in a skull fracture for want of another term, and then of course fractures to your several vertebrae in your neck after that crash at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just real quick, Braden, do you always want to know exactly what went wrong before you get back into a race car? And do you have a feeling now you know exactly what went wrong there?
I don't think it's really relevant to me. I just focus on, what I have to do. I don't really think about it too much. I mean, it was one of those things, I've never really been in a bad crash, in all of my time racing cars. So, back in go-karting, I've been in some crashes here and there, but that's completely different.
Yeah,
Racing cars, it's so much higher speed. We have a lot of safety things, in place to keep us safe, but at the end of the day, we're still traveling at a rate that's so fast. And we ended up having a failure on the car, a hub failure that caused the wheel to come off. And from there, I was just a passenger. The wheel kind of got underneath the car and sent me up, and the aerodynamics, helped keep me in the air for a while, and kind of landed in just the wrong spot to where the roll hoop failed. And from there on, I was pretty much on my head the whole way to the wall. So I'm really thankful just to be in the state that I am. It could have been much worse, for sure, but
yeah.
I'm still alive, and I should get back to it. I don't know exactly how long it's going to be, but not too long before I should get back in the car. So I'm really thankful just to be in the condition that I'm in. And yeah, I mean, all in all, just thankful to be okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you literally right now you're champing at the bit to get back in a race car, right? From the standpoint of you do want these things to heal as quickly as possible. What does that kind of tell you about yourself, about your drive, man?
Yeah, I mean, I just I love racing. It's what I've always done. So when just like this whole year, it's just kind of been the story of waiting. It's kind of disrupted everyone's lives so much. And normally we would have started out in St. Pete in March, and that got canceled, and everything got pushed back, and the whole world was just in a state of nobody knew what was going on, nobody knew what was going to happen. Schedules were basically non-existent until the second half this year. And yeah, it was just crazy. And now I'm back out of the seat, but I think it's a little bit different now. I don't want to go out and get in a car tomorrow. I'd need to recover and make sure that everything's going to be okay, because in the long run, I need to heal so that nothing comes up again in the future. So for
Yeah.
me right now, I'm just trying to do everything I can, sleep a lot, give my body the best things it can to heal itself as quickly as possible, and just take things day by day.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, crazy. And I want to make sure people understand this guy isn't a wannabe race car driver. This is a real race car driver we're talking to here. A guy who has shown his mettle many times in the past, and not the least of which was winning that 2000 championship last year. You started third in the final race of the year on used tires, as the saga goes. You had to win the race, number one, to really, I think, have a shot at the championship, barring any kind of catastrophes behind you. And then the guy, your closest pursuer, had to finish a certain spot. But my point is, you drove yourself to the front, and then hung on for the win. And Just real quick, Braden, bring us up to date in respect of what it means to win a championship like that on the Road to Indy program, which got you the scholarship, for want of another term, to have a full season this year. But what did you prove to yourself that day as a driver from the standpoint of being able to summon what it took?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the do or die moments in my career. That was the whole year leading up to that point. I had pretty much led the whole year, the championship the whole year. So I won the first 4 races of the season at St. Pete and then IMS, and didn't quite dominate the rest of the year the way I would have liked. But we had good results the whole year. We're always in the top 5 really, and then just lost the championship lead in Portland with a couple of second place finishes, and my championship rival won both of those races. So it was still really close. I was only like 5 points back. And the way the Road to Indy works, those of you that follow the Road to Indy know is the champion of each year gets a fully funded seat in the next level the next year. So and if you know my background, money isn't really something that has come easy to me, and sponsorship has always been one of the main focuses, just to continue, because racing is so expensive, and it's just so hard to get to the point where you can compete in IndyCar, where there's so much more sponsorship. So we kind of have to manage our way through the Road to Indy and do what we can to get the experience that we need. It's kind of like our version of college for race car drivers. So it's yeah, but like that race was so crazy. It was one of those races where it didn't matter if I finished second or third, because it's basically do or die. If you win the championship, you get the $300,000 to move up, and if you don't, then the future's uncertain, and nobody really cares about the second place finisher. So I just kind of had to fight my way forward, and at the start got the lead, and fortunately enough was able to hang on through being challenged the entire race. So it was one of probably the most intense race of my life, and definitely the most rewarding as well at the end.
Yeah, to paraphrase the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights, you either finished first or you're looking for funds. Hey, do me a favor, check your settings down there, see if you didn't click off the video on our hookup here. And if you didn't, then we've lost a picture of you. But hey, everybody knows what you look like by now.
Okay.
There you go, man. You look a lot better. Hey, what miraculous recovery there in like a minute and a half. Hey, real quick though, tell me about just your aspirations as we sit here right now. Obviously, you went to the same high school as Mike Shank, who's, like I said, one of the co-hosts, basically the host of this program. I'm just sort of his cohort, but I ask all the questions. But Gahanna Lincoln, now you moved on up to the east side to New Albany, is where you live now. It's where you're talking from right now, folks, New Albany, Ohio. But, number one, just in a nutshell, how tough is it to just get your foot in the ground to climb this ladder? And then number two, what are your aspirations in a nutshell?
My aspirations definitely are to go to IndyCar. It's just so tough to kind of get your foot in the door. All of us start in karting for the most part, and we do that kind of the majority of my career I was in karting. So I started when I was 6 and raced in karting until I was 17, and then kind of moved up into F4. And the Road to Indy is really the place to be. So I was looking at the USF 2000 Championship, which is the first step of the Road to Indy after F4, and just kind of was able to get the full year deal with Cape Motorsports, which was so instrumental in my success. The team was just phenomenal all year, teaching me exactly what I had to do to win a championship. And just getting that one step, it's all about winning. Everyone just looks at the winner. So I knew that I had to go in and win immediately in order to get some awareness about myself and keep my career going. And I was able to do that in the first year, as well as fund the second year. And that was just so important. But it's so tough to get in there, and we work our whole lives to get our one shot, and my one shot, it was able to pay off, and it's just really cool to see what it's brought me. Obviously, it's it's hard to talk about all this stuff right now with
Yeah.
my current state, but ultimately, I know I'll bounce back, and I'm looking forward to next year and what the future has to bring.
I was gonna say that one shot is like the long drive contest on in golf. You hit the sweet spot at least. You knew you can do it again. You can do that again is the big deal. By the way, give people an idea. You're how old, Braden?
I'm 21 years old.
Yeah, 21 years old, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you looking for a driver, still in his infancy, but climbing quickly. Last thing, what did it mean to you, for example, on social media to get a couple of well wishes after your incident, which means people are paying attention to you, especially like from Will Power? I mean, what does that kind of do for you from the standpoint of knowing people are paying attention?
Oh, it just gives such a big boost, especially, laying there in the hospital and, just putting out something to let people know that, I'm not dead and I'm okay and all of that. And getting the huge response that I got, I feel like everyone that I met in my whole life messaged me, I felt like, and it was just so good to have all that support, knowing that everyone's behind me, everyone, they follow me still, and having the IndyCar drivers like Will Power, Pato Award, Connor Daly, Graham Rahal as well, who's from New Albany,
Yeah.
all shouting me out on social media, and the response was just crazy. I mean, my Twitter video of me laying there in the hospital, just just not looking good at all, got like 120,000 views, and it's just crazy the support that I've got. I'm so thankful to all of my supporters, my team. They're super supportive of me, all coming as soon as I got out of the hospital. They couldn't visit me in the hospital. I know them as well as some competitors would have visited me, which I'm so thankful for. But with the
Yeah.
COVID restrictions, that's all limited. So I'm just so thankful to have all the support I've gotten, and as well as the IndyCar drivers meant so much to see that. And ultimately, it's just it's good to have all the support. It helps me. I'm not in the best state that I've ever been. So when you're not at the highest point you've ever been, it's good to have somebody to boost you back up like I did.
Hey, Braden, last question. I know I said that, but I'm known for asking 8 last questions, but this will be my last one. From a time crunch situation, I promise not to keep you on too long because you got to go back and lay down. No, I'm just joking. When did you know, maybe you don't know this because you're that, see, I always think race car drivers, the ones that do it at the highest level, and I mean, show the ability that they're going to be able to do it at the highest level, which I think you have already proven. When did you know that you could put everything out of your mind except pressing the gas and upshifting and downshifting? If you follow my drift there, when did you know that you had the ability to do that from the standpoint of, because every time you put a helmet on, as I always say, football players and race car drivers are the same in the sense that they know when they strap on the helmet, they're in jeopardy, but they go ahead and do it anyway. When did you know that you had that makeup about yourself?
I don't know. I mean, I came from karting, and it doesn't start out quite so seriously. I mean, obviously I took it seriously always, but you don't have all the people expecting that of you. It's really just, me and my dad at the kart track, and me just always wanting to get better and pushing myself to get better, striving for perfection. And, I don't know. It's just always the focus to get better for me that has pushed me and helped me out. I've never really focused at how good I was. It's always, I'm not good enough. I need to get better. And I think that's kind of what has helped me to get to the point where I'm at. It's never taken anything for granted, never settled for how I was at that point. And it's always just been pushing forward and trying to succeed more and more. So I think for me, it's that mindset that's probably helped me to get to the point where I'm at. And just always, I think my mind always has racing on it, at least at like 10%, even if I'm doing something completely different from racing. It's always just thinking about racing and wanting to get back racing. And I think that just that drive that I've had to always improve is what's helped me out so much in my career.
Yeah. In other words, you're driven, right? Pardon the pun. You're very driven.
Yeah.
It's funny because I asked Will Power about that one time, and he's one of the, I've always said if I had one car and one shot at giving the current guys in IndyCar one shot at getting me the pole at like a road course somewhere, I'd put Will Power in the car. I know Scott Dixon, all these other guys are really good, but Will just seems to want to push it right to that edge, and I said, the funny thing about it is when you do that and you're successful, what you also know is, a little bit here, a little bit there, I could have gone faster, right? That's what drives you, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
exactly.
There's no such thing as perfection, but there's excellence, right?
Yeah, exactly. You strive for perfection, and you hope that you achieve excellence. I think that's the quote.
Gotcha. Well, hey, you can steal that from me, man. But hey, you know what? Until next time, Braden, good luck to you in this road to recovery. It looks like you're well on the way, your road to recovery, on your road to Indy. And appreciate you coming on the SP podcast.
Thank you so much.
Mike, there's nothing like seeing the enthusiasm of a young racer, even after he's had a tough time, right? And you've known Braden Eves probably a lot of his life, but just give us a nutshell take on, from your vantage point, of Braden Eves.
Well, actually, I've only known him, we both went to the same high school, which is called Gahanna Lincoln on the east side of Columbus. And that was about all we had in common. But I've been where he's been. I've driven race cars when I got out of high school. I've been where he's been. And as it turns out, it looks like he's got more talent than I do. So we started helping him a little bit last year when he won the USF 2000 championship. And now he's doing the next level toward Indy. And unfortunately had this setback. And, this happens. It's a part of what we do. Almost every major competitor driver in racing has had one or two big ones, and with some injury. So it's up to him now, to be honest. He's got to want it bad. If he does, we'll find out quickly, Tim. I hope he does.
Yeah.
He's got the talent to go all the way, potentially, I think. I let him drive the sports car a little bit at Daytona in January to test the NSX, and he did real well in that. He's a natural for sure, and deserves opportunity if that's what he wants. This was a pretty big crash. To give you some context, when it flipped, it knocked the roll hoop that's supposed to protect him. It knocked it off the car. So his head was the roll hoop, and he got a fractured kind of eye next to his eye here. He fractured his skull. He's fine, and the eye is fine, and everything's fine. Everything's going to heal on him. He's a super fit kid, super strong. So that's all going to be good, but it was really going to come down to is how bad does he want it? When Scott Pruitt got his legs crushed in the early 90s, how bad did he want to come back? Well, history now shows he wanted to come back pretty bad.
Yeah.
And this is an example of what can happen. It's certainly a lot safer than when Scott got hurt back then, but a freak accident terrible things can happen. And he showed that, unfortunately. And he was running third or fourth, I think, in that race, which had been fine for race one there. And it's just a huge setback for him in the program. This weekend would have been a good one for him also to score points.
Oh, yeah.
He was third in the championship. He just came off an incredible P2 out in St. Louis last week that he did. I just thought one of his best jobs. I actually told him this last week. I said, I think it's probably your best job I've ever seen you drive on an oval, actually.
Yep.
So I think you and I will keep an eye on him closely, Tim, over the next year or two. And what we're going to find out is how bad he wants it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, his Moxie showed last year in the season-ending race when he started third and had to win the race to win the championship. And he drove up in there, on used tires all the way. He had everybody around him had fresh tires. And, I don't know exactly how the rules work in that series, but the bottom line is he won the race and won the championship. So he does have that fire, and maybe that willingness to kind of put it out there. But you're right, Mike. It's an interesting, like you just pointed about Scott Pruitt. I mean, he got injured in a testing accident at West Palm Beach. I think it was at the fairgrounds there. And I'll never forget that when I got that phone call that day. And, then you wonder from that moment on, it's a different, people look at you differently. Are you coming back, from a serious injury that a normal person would never probably get on that roller coaster again, if you follow my drift. But race car drivers, you guys are made a little differently, right?
Yeah, but this will be the test. I wasn't. I was good when I was ready to be done, but I didn't have the talent he has, right? So he has potential to go a long way in this if he wants to. But this will be the test. I can't wait to see what happens, and he'll be ready to go for next year. I know his team's behind him too, Tim.
What did 6,000 people look like at Road Atlanta? Could you tell there was a crowd there?
Not really. Not really. It's such a big facility. It'll be very similar at MidOhio. We're talking about 800-acre facilities. 6,000 people is nothing, right?
Yeah.
And, but that's where our world is, Tim. And by the way, we have an IMSA race at MidOhio in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, right, at the end of the month. So
we'll
see if my guess is that DeWine will keep us at 6,000 for that race too. So, but listen, at least we get to race and, go forward.
Yeah, at least there'll be somebody there. There'll be somebody appreciating your efforts. All right, let's real quick, Mike, as we wrap this up. We talked a while ago, y'all's confidence is high going into this weekend. At least there's a sense of confidence for you guys. For people who have been paying attention, I know there are 23, 24 guys that could win this race, but who have you really got your eye on? Who will you be judging yourself by as the weekend ensues? Two sets of qualifying, 2 races over the weekend. Who have you got your eye on?
Besides Dixon there, his teammate Rosenquist is very good at MidOhio and knows the gig there.
Yeah.
So he'll be very strong. Graham always goes well there as long as his car is balanced. If Graham's got a car under him, he'll be a threat for sure. We're not going to know that until we get through practice 1 on Saturday. I don't even know where to begin. The Penske, Newgarden is always super, super strong, but they all will. That's the thing. You can crank out 10 guys' names immediately, and you got to outqualify them just to be in the top 6. It's crazy. So last year we finished 10th, which was the best we've ever done in the IndyCar at MidOhio. And, we're expecting the car to be a little bit better than we had last year, kind of like Road America was for us this year, where we were very competitive, and think that we should have a reasonable chance to finish in the top 5. Our goal is to be in the top 5 at the end of each day.
I should know this before I ask this, like a lawyer should know the answer to this question. Are the races, I'm trying to remember when they were first set up, I think they were going to be 75 lap races when they were going to run originally. 75, how much is it as opposed to like a 90 or whatever has been the norm? How does that change for you on the stand, you guys on the stand from a strategy standpoint? That's almost, you can't do it in 1 stop, but you can do it in 1.5, right? How does it kind of change?
Now, what it does is it takes it from a 3-stop with you risk it to do 2-stop like Dixon did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's just a solid 2-stop.
2-stop, okay.
We're never going to have enough yellow to get to a 1-stopper race. The odds are high, just incredibly high. So now we know we got a 2, and the question is what's your tire choice? Because we have 2 different compounds of tire, and you got to use each of them in the race. Which one degrades or falls off or gets slower, the worst, and what do you want on at the end of the race relative to the beginning of the race? Because as the time slows during a stint, other people could have new tires on, making time up on you, and it's just understanding that calculation. So it's continuous, but by the way, this week we're pre-running the race in multiple scenarios so that we kind of know where we stand. Ultimately, we won't know though until we see how the new Firestones perform on the practice sessions.
Well, give us a peek behind the hood on the on y'all's simulations. What is the average number of cautions there?
It's interesting. The last 2 years, none.
Yeah, exactly.
Year before that was 2. About 4 years ago, we had 4, but the odds are of 0 or 1 are 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
Based on the pure, and we look at that and when they fall at every place.
And so that means basically from the drop of the green flag, it's just basically put your head down and go. Is that? I know you have to save fuel, a little, but just give me that idea.
Listen, we don't want to have to save fuel. That is not something we strive for, but a lot of times in IndyCar racing, you have to. So we will try not to.
Last question for you. Just give me a sense of where Jack Harvey is right now in your mind. Has he established himself, especially this year, among the guys to be considered contenders on a continual basis? Just where is he in your mind?
He's almost there. And a lot of the stuff that's happened this year had was not his doing at all.
Yeah.
So that's the toughest part. Some of it was luck. Some of it was on the team side. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Jack could easily, and I mean easily, be 5th or 6th in the championship right now without any problem. So he is slowly earning his way to the top. Everything we've done, though, Tim, in IndyCar has been very slow and deliberate. So I guess this isn't indifferent, but we're trying to learn as we go, and what we can afford. That's why we did all these tiered steps. Was all about money, and but he is exactly where he needs to be, and I think he's surprised a lot. There was a story this week that came out on social media. Somebody did a story about him, how he shouldn't be overlooked, and he's like the most underrated guy on the grid right now, which I think is possible, right?
Yeah.
But he knows how to take care of the car, and the best part is he's gaining experience. He's starting to understand when he qualifies second, like he has done a couple times. He knows what he needs to do to get to that time on any track he's going to now, including short ovals, by the way, that he's been pretty damn impressive on.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Mike Shank. I'm Tim May. This has been another episode of the At Speed podcast. And Mike, we're going to be back pretty quickly after the Mid-Ohio weekend to give people a little bit of a recap and look forward to the finish of the season. If you're up to it, I know you are, right?
Look forward to it. Can't wait.
By the way, did you drink all the champagne in all those bottles behind you, or did you share it with your teammates?
We always share, but we have a lot of champagne bottles around this place.
Yes, you do, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if they add a couple more this weekend. But until next time, for Mike Shank, this is Tim May with the At Speed podcast.